Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and we are here to do MindPlore and speak about today, the next frontier, which is discovering the inner guru within us. And we all have one. And for me, I know he's there or she's there. I don't put a sex on the guru, but I do tend to believe that I not only believe, but know that I don't always trust her. And without that trust, I tend to not be able to do what I need to do. And right now, I do want to thank Kruger, Kimi Alford, and Jeanne Alford for being here. And you can only watch the show on YouTube today. So for that reason, I need to get some things done. And Jeanne, I am putting you to work while I get that taken care of.
Thank you, Carla. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Kimi and Kurt. I expect this is going to be a really interesting conversation. So I wanted to kick it off with a quote from Albert Einstein. And then, I've got three quotes I'll share. From Albert Einstein, the intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. There comes a leap in consciousness, call it intuition or what you will. The solution comes to you and you don't know how or why. Who better to tell us that it's not our intellect, but something bigger than us, than probably the greatest inventor of our time, Albert Einstein. Well, my time, Kimi's too young. I can't really tell about Kurt. The other quote is, are you ready for this? Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise, its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Gene Roddenberry. Now, we have to change that just a little. Inner space, the broadest frontier. These are the voyages of the brave, the ultimate mission to explore strange new understandings, to seek out inner counsel and wise connections, to boldly go where no one else can travel. That's from Jeanne Alford. So when we were talking about this, planning this meeting, this show, we were talking about how we know a lot about, and we're focused on space travel. I mean, we've got a couple of billionaires who are putting commercial space travel, out there on a regular basis, and yet we don't know much about our own oceans. And the majority of this planet is ocean. But if you want to go out to the I think it's the Marianas, or in the deepest parts, we really don't know. So we're still getting discoveries of new and interesting creatures that somehow come into our space. And it's the same for us. We spend, as a people, we spend a lot of time on our external, our external focus, how we react to other people, what's our environment, what people are saying about us, how do we show up in the world. And we don't spend a lot of time trying to understand us, our own being, the us that only we can know. There's an inner Jeanne that's extremely wise, but periodically I'll get a thought or a feeling and I'll think, oh, that can't be true. And it's easier for me to say that's not right than to take the leap to share it with you guys. This is what my thoughts are. this is what I'm feeling, and trusting that inner guru. So I want to kick it off with that thought. You know, what is it that makes us trust what somebody else says over what our own inner being is telling us? Kurt.
I've been teaching since 1965. And in teaching, we instill the idea that there's a person who's the smart guy, the person in front of the class, the pontificator, the person who knows. Whereas in the indigenous life, it's totally different. Everything and everyone is the teacher. You're totally present where you are. You're totally communicative because you are part and are nature. Yet we're taken away from our nature, and our true nature is every aspect of us. And I had an incredible teacher who taught me how to be able to go inside. He says, know, love, and serve God. He says, God dwells within you as you. Now imagine if Allah dwells within us. If he is not only in us, but in everything else, all parts of his creation. When we go inside, we're going places nobody else, like you said, Jeanne, can go. Nobody else can go here. And your perspective, your view on life is colored by your experiences. But when you go inside, those, as they say in Africa, these mukhis are not able to clog your vision. And so you get clearer and clearer vision when we meditate.
You call them lookies?
Mukhis. Yeah. So they're like gnats. They're like gnats in the brain. You know, or as they say in India, the monkeys of the mind. You know, you can't stop those monkeys. Well, you don't have to stop them. There's different practices to do. You can do a mantra meditation, which focuses your mind on one chosen thought. So it's slowly that will disappear too when you get into deeper states. You can do it as a awareness meditation, the ones that are very popular with the mindfulness meditation, Vipassana, and so many more different practices. I've been spreading the word about the Peacemaker Meditation because it's a psychosomatic spiritual practice to get us to be focused on that peace inside and everything with peace. Peace in everything, everything with peace. That's all we have to do is repeat, but bending forward like this and breathing in this way, peace in everything, everything with peace. So we've made our body, these muscles that are moving in that way, have this muscle memory of peace in everything, everything with peace. And of course, over in Israel, there's a place called Jerusalem. And there's a wall there, it's called the Western Wall. And you see some of these people standing in front of that wall doing the same movement. They're doing their prayers. They may not be doing the same hand prayers, but the prayers are still prayers. And the prayers can be, again, brought into the body and beyond the body. In Kabbalah, the Kabbalah says that this body includes the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of creation, all four. So when we tap into this body and go beyond just the body through meditation, then we can experience that guru, that teacher, that innermost self that is able to know the wisdom of the ages without even being so old. Of course, being 94,000 years old like myself, we learn a little bit along the way. But guess what? We still can learn more. And it's so beautiful because we explore life. And this is what the inner exploration is. There was the magic, what was it called? The Magic Schoolhouse? Something about the Magic Schoolhouse. It was
the bus?
Yes, Magic School Bus. That's it.
School bus, yeah.
Yes. So we explore that innermost being and have an amazing time doing it. But there I've done, and it looks like we get Kimi to be able to raise her hand and bring her beauty to life.
So thank you for all of that. I loved your sort of brushstroke around the world about different pieces of faith that are leading you inward. And I like to describe it as that little small voice within, the one that's not yelling and screaming or calling you names, the voice inside of you that is love. You can call it God, Allah, Yahweh. There are many names for this voice. And this is your inner wisdom. This is your essence of who you are. The body is just a sleeve that we wear, and we get to be animated through this experience. And we'll look outside. This is sort of driven by the ego mind. We'll look outside for things to make us happy, for things to give us meaning and purpose. And all the looking outside is never going to help you get to the destination, because there is nothing out here that will satisfy and nourish your soul. What nourishes your soul is turning inward and listening. I'm studying a Course in Miracles, and we talk about the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit's voice can't be heard if you're focused outside on this ego mind. And that doesn't mean that you can't appreciate things outside of you. Like Kurt and I were talking about these flowers that I have that I love. They mean something to me. I enjoy them. But do they really have meaning? Nothing has meaning except for the meaning I give it. I can choose to create the meaning of anything that I'm seeing or experiencing. If it's serving me, great. If it's not serving me, I can change the meaning. For instance, life experiences. Something happens, an event happens. You can look outside and see that event as a disaster in your life. That's a meaning you can give it. Or you can look outside and take it and say, wow, that was an event. What can I learn here? What opportunities are here? What is this redirecting me to? Was it a gift from my inner spirit? Was it a gift? I worked with a guy one time who was semi-paralyzed from his neck down, and he had fallen off a ladder. And I said, wow, how do you feel about that? And he said it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Exactly like that. I went, really? And he said, I was a high-powered lawyer. I was out in the world working and to make a bunch of money, buying houses, doing things, buying fancy cars. And I wasn't spending time with the people who mattered to me, my family. And what this did was it helped me turn inward and listen to my inner wisdom about what was actually important to me. And what was important to me was the connections with the people I love and care about. I was stunned when he'd said that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it makes so much sense. When we turn our attention back to our inner guidance, which is all about love, it can help us navigate the world as ourselves, but it also helps us connect with the people we love and care about. And that inner exploration about what's true for you. What do you really want in your heart will impact everything you do. You've got a job that you've been working at for years that you're miserable in. If you turn inward, you may find that there's another path for you that feeds your soul.
So one of the questions that comes up, because this is beautiful and this is what we want to explore, because there's so much power. I'm going to say up here, because it's kind of the mind. When we sit down and meditate, we kind of bring in the whole body and the spirit. So, well, two things. One is I'm remembering the scene from the movie Cocoon, towards the end of the movie, when they reveal who they really are and they kind of unzip and take off the skin suit, if you will, and we see this bright ball of light, because we all have that. We all have that bright energy. We are energy. And I often show people, when I'm talking to folks, I'll often go, rub your hands together. Now, come in and kind of feel to when you start to feel a little bit of a tingle, and usually it's about, a foot from you, you start to feel your own energy sphere. And they're like, wow. I go, yeah, we're all energy. And there's a reason why when somebody gets a little too close, you get kind of, a little jittery and stuff, because they get into your space, literally into your energy space. So that's just, one thing I want to share, because there's so much that we don't understand, and we are this energy. And I like to remember that the energy of the tree is the same as the energy of me, and that we commingle. But we live in a snarky world. I say snarky because that's a little bit more of a fun term. We can be snide, we can be mean, we can be horrible to each other, but nothing can be as mean as some of our inner voices. And so as we start to explore that inner guru, how do you suggest we weed out those crazy little thoughts that put up the roadblocks to who we are, that it's almost like they're that yappy little dog that wants to keep you away from the real inhabitant that you're trying to talk to. They're those roadblocks that get put up so you can't drive through to get to the house that you're trying to get to. So how do you weed through and get through those to find that beautiful essence that we want to talk to, that inner guru, that higher self, if you will?
Go ahead, Kimi.
I'd like to go first, and that's because I want to make a distinction that I didn't make before. I work with men and women to help them to understand each other better so they can have better relationships. And I talk about the ego mind, or instinctual experience, which is a bit like a yin-yang symbol. There's the masculine provider, protector, producer energy, and there's the feminine supporter, adapter, enhancer energy. And if you imagine they're a circle and they complement each other, these are instinctual drives. And then up here is where spirit lives. This is where consciousness lives. This is where your best self lives. I can't tell if my hands are in the picture. So up here is where consciousness lives. And that is like this is where our deep self, our inner guru lives. This is where love lives, where we can be our best selves. We can be the most conscious spiritual person in the world and get tripped up in our relationships if we don't understand this dynamic. With that said, I want to go to what Jeanne was talking about, that inner critic. Women tend to be externally motivated. We're taking care of the world around us, and we're looking at how it affects us all the time. We're, in our species, we're the smaller, weaker person, typically. We can have strong spirits, but physically, we're not always as strong as the men. We are the prey of our species. And that means that we are constantly alert for anything outside of ourselves. We're alert for fitting in with our tribe. We're alert for being a better woman. And we have an ongoing list in our head that says a better woman would be a better mother, a better teacher, a better friend, a better looking, better this, better that. And that inner voice is mean to us. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And she's not nice. I mean, so mean and not nice, same thing. You can tell that voice because of its tone. Oh, Kimi, you should have done that. You should have done this. You would be smarter if you did this. Wow, you're being lazy. We're constantly beating ourselves up. And I've never met a woman who doesn't have this voice in this way. That inner voice that I was talking about before, that's our conscious spiritual voice, our deeper self voice. That voice is never going to beat you up. That voice believes in you. So how do you distinguish those voices? Well, first of all, one is kind to you. The other one is not. One will suggest that you do things that you think, oh my God, I can't do that. But it's really your soul's purpose. And when you finally do it, you'll find that it's like, wow, I'm really glad I took that step. And that may take a while to get there. But the point is, it's this inner drive that believes in you. These external voices, or internal, the ones that are in our heads that are unkind, you can say, stop, like just stop. You can imagine turning the volume down. You can push the voice away. And as Kurt was saying, you know, he does the meditation practice in and out. The more you go inward and practice silencing, not eliminating the thoughts that go through your head. You're not going to eliminate them, but non-attachment to them. Instead of going, oh, there's a thought, I've got to think about that. You just watch them drift by like clouds. The more you can do that, the more, when those voices are loud, you can sort of turn away from them. You can push them out a little bit and turn inward and listen to your inner wisdom.
You know, it's interesting. There's two forms of the deepest state of meditation. In India, they call it samadhi. There's nirvikalpa samadhi, which is absolutely no thoughts. There have been people who have been tested in laboratories, live scans of the brain and so on, where they have zero brain waves. Wow. They should be dead. Half an hour later, whatever time it is later, you know, they start getting their brain active again. They should be dead. They're not. There's another side of it, the way other side. This is called Sahaja Samadhi. Sahaja Samadhi is natural samadhi, where you witness the mind's activity. Totally. It's like you're watching this play of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It is an incredible dance of, in India, they call it Shiva, that dance of Shiva.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories about it, and it's magical. But these brainwave activities in Sahaja Samadhi are super fast. The other end of the scale, again, the yin and the yang kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The experience is the exact same. The experience. So how do we get this ecstatic experience, whether it's this way or that way? Now, you brought up also this idea of energy, that this produces energy. Well, I just posted on my Facebook page a picture of an angel, and the angel was the attractive force, so to speak, so people would look at the thing. But in the write-up, it shows a controlled study conducted by German scientists at the University of Kassel. It showed while the chest area of an average human being, it emits only about 20 photons of light per second. Someone who meditates, though, on the heart center and sends love and light to others emits an amazing 100,000 photons per second. That's 5,000 times more than the average human being, just by simply meditating. Numerous studies have also shown that when these photons are infused with loving and healing intent, their frequency vibration increases to the point where they can literally change matter, heal disease, and transform negative events.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. There are people who have healed people. I'll give you an example. It's written up in this crazy book that in 3 weeks it got to be a bestseller on Amazon, right? 2 out of the 4 books got to be bestsellers within 3 weeks. It describes an incident in South Africa where I was playing beach ball, and a guy spikes the ball really nicely, beautiful spike, but he comes down wrong. You hear this pop. And I've been a coach of world record holders and all kinds of people in my past lives, so that this last 94,000 years. And so I dragged him off the court, because that's what you do in beach ball, and let other people play. And I said, do you mind if I see if I can help you? And he says, okay. So I put my hands on his knee, and I guided him through what in sports psychology is the most practiced element of sports psychology, which is called visualization. So I guided him into visualizing with each breath. The breath goes down into the lower lobes of your lungs because you're breathing through your nose, and all the air sacs are there. And I described it in minute detail. For 45 minutes, I'm talking to him about this breathing calmly. And then for the first time in my life, though, a few times, I don't know how many times, over the period of 45 minutes, I thanked Allah, I thanked God for having healed him. Now, there was a dude that was called Jesus. And this guy, when he healed people, said, thank you, Father, for having healed him. So I just emulated the dude. I just thanked God for having healed him. Periodically. 45 minutes after I did that, the guy walked away. About 5 years later, I'm with backpacking with scouts, and a similar thing happened. A boy twisted his ankle badly, walks up with his staff, and so on and so forth. So, boom, he got healed, walked away without the staff. What can't we do? Now, I started meditating an hour a day in 1974. And in doing that, by the time it was 1977, I got on a hijacked airplane. I got into the deepest state of meditation on that hijacked airplane. What did it allow me to do? Be peaceful no matter what was happening out there. So the big thing is to seek that peace in everything with peace, because I was more peaceful. When we came in for a landing, a lady next to me started to freak out because it's an extremely tense time. She started breathing funny and shaking, and I grabbed her arm. I said, calm down. Everything will be okay. The Lord's taking care of us. She calmed down. How? I was so calm. I was so present. It was just God's grace.
Yeah.
But you can't channel that grace. You can't be a force of that unless you allow that to happen. And when you say women are weak, I totally disagree. And no, I know about the physical trip. When you said that, I said, oh, okay, I can tell you this one, because you know that when a woman sees her child pinned under a car, she not only lifts the car up and pulls the child underneath.
Yeah.
So that's only one hand holding that car up. Now, I picked up a car after a swim workout. I mean, this body has gone through some interesting times in these few years that I've been around. So that's why we explore inside. We explore what's available. And there's nothing that is not available to us when we tune in. That's my belief.
I completely concur with that. And that entrainment, love is the strongest force on the planet.
Yes.
And when we can calm ourselves, when we practice that energy in a situation like being hijacked or an automobile accident or anything really, we can become that stronger force. And I don't know about you, but for me, having a faith that God is in and through everything, Allah is in and through everything. And I believe the physical body dies, but our soul doesn't. We go to heaven, but heaven is actually right here, right now, in our connection to Allah.
Totally.
And that's the connection that helps us that is the frequency that we radiate when we are sitting in peace, when we are sitting in love. I'll give you a personal example. My father and I had many years of a very, very rocky relationship. I went to boarding school at 13 because my father and I fought so terribly that we were probably going to kill each other. It was really awful. Fast forward to me being 36 years old. He had just invited me to live at his house so I could go to graduate school. Within the first 3 hours, we were in a big fight. And I thought, this is the stupidest decision I've ever made, to come live with my father in his 2-bedroom house. And, why did I give up my life to do this? Fast forward another year, and I start studying about men and women. And it changed everything for me. I could begin to see my father not as controlling, but as my protector, a man committed to making sure that I was okay, that I would have a good life, even inviting me into his house after we had fought. I probably was the person he fought with most in his entire life. he invited me into his house. Fast forward another number of years, and my mother has passed away. It's a holiday called Thanksgiving in America. My brother Arthur and I have decided we're going to cook Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm at my dad's house because I lived out of town, and my brother Arthur was going to come over. So I'm busy making cranberry sauce. It's a staple of Thanksgiving. And my father walks in and he roughly says to me, "Well, Kimi, you've got to finish this up so Arthur can get in here and cook dinner." And immediately my mind went, what? Like, I was so angry, so hurt. And we had from the age about 36 to 40, we had a lot of peaceful times because I'd started understanding men. But this flare up, now, well, and one other piece here. I've been studying love and spirituality my whole life. And it was understanding the masculine and feminine dynamic that really changed things for me, because it allowed me to put my practice of connecting with Allah, God, into my daily life. Okay, so I have this incident at the stove. My brain goes, I can't believe I'm here. What an asshole. What a jerk. And I leave the room and I locked myself in the bathroom. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's a lovely bathroom. My father's got great taste. So I'm in this bathroom and I'm thinking, my mother has just passed away. This is our first Thanksgiving without her. And what do I truly want to experience? I asked myself, what do I truly want to experience? It can be a whole day worth of me fighting with my dad. That's an external thing, right? Or I can choose how I want the day to go. At least I hope I can. So I focused on what I wanted to experience. And in that choice, I chose love. Well, how do I get there? I turned inward. I focused on radiating love out of my heart, breathing in peace, exhaling love, breathing in joy, exhaling peace, just focusing on this, and forgiving my dad for being himself, forgiving me for being reactive, a lot of pieces in there. It took me 10 minutes because I'd been doing a daily practice. And it's it was a challenging situation for me because the day could have gone into a complete disaster. After 10 minutes, I walked out. I did not talk to my dad and tell him he'd been a jerk. Why? I focused on what I truly wanted to experience. And how did I do that? I got myself into that place of love through my meditation, through my inner calming myself. And then I walked out. I connected with my dad. I connected with my brothers. We had the best Thanksgiving we could ever have had. And I went to bed that night thinking, this was the day I truly wanted to experience. Because I'd focused on what really mattered, which was that love and that practice of turning inward and listening to that voice that I'd been doing helped me to turn that around in a relatively quick manner and experience the connection that if you had told me my father and I would have a sweet relationship one day, I would have laughed. But now I've got that connection that I've always wanted with him. And it's not because he's changed. He's a Vietnam veteran, has a lot of anger issues, it's not because he's changed. It's because I've chosen to be love.
So a couple of things I want to point out in what you shared, Kimi, because it's beautiful. I love that story because it illustrates what I call a superpower. So let me cover a couple of points and then tell you why. One is that you use the word entrainment, and I've learned from Carla when we have a $50 word to take a moment and share its meaning with the viewers, because not everybody speaks English as their first language. And on top of that, it's a word that I've been hearing more often and wanted to get to know what it meant, and it's entrainment. When, in biology, it's trapping air in a liquid, but in what we're talking about, brainwave entrainment, is any practice that aims to cause the brainwave frequencies to fall into step with the periodic stimulus. It means synchronizing to the beats of music with natural body or something like that, which I find fascinating, because when my son was young and bouncing off the walls, I noticed when he was watching certain TV shows that just without knowing anything about this, I could see that he would calm down and he would focus, which was something I couldn't get him to do. So I used to think, oh, TV and Chris, all of a sudden their brain waves are the same. So it was synchronization of the brain waves. I find that fascinating because if I play certain music, I focus better. So entrainment is a good word to have brought up. Another thing that you brought up was, in the midst of this, was anger and hurt. And for our viewers who've been listening for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the complex layering of emotions. And you just said it in a way that you just said straightforward. I was angry, I was hurt. So you start to see that layering, because we were talking a lot, I believe it was last week, how anger is one of those emotions that covers what's really going on. So it's a great sample of that, to see how you personally saw it, recognized it, dealt with it. And that's one of the things that if we could give people tools to be able to handle things like anger and hurt and frustration and some of what we call the darker emotions, that's always a great gift. My usual response is take a deep breath. Let's take a moment. And finally, you said you chose. And you've heard me talk about this in communications. Choosing, being able to choose, is an extremely important superpower. And what do I mean? It's one of those things that's innate in us that we don't often realize how powerful it is. But as Stephen Covey said, between the stimulus and the response, you get to choose. So you get to choose to react emotionally, chaotically, angrily, or you get to choose calmness, forgiveness, grace. And so in that little tiny fractional nanosecond, we have all the power, because the only power we really have in the world is how we react to things and how we choose to be. So thank you. It was a beautiful story that illustrates a lot of that. So here's the question, because we've been covering a lot. I want to go back to the inner guru, the final frontier. You guys have used the word practice a lot. What are the first steps? Is it simply taking a deep breath and quieting the mind? Or is it putting an hour away and saying, I got to focus on this for an hour? And Carla's raising her hand. So what are some practical and maybe even fun things that our viewers can take away? Carla?
Can I add something to what you're saying?
You can.
When you're yeah, I've been wanting to off and on, but you guys had such a flow that I didn't want to interrupt it. When you are listening and getting into these practices, many people may not be able to sit for more than a minute. Perfect. Many people may want to sit for 3 hours in a row. Perfect. Everyone has a different way of handling this. Everyone has a different way of becoming very quiet and becoming a part of the, I'm going to use the word universe, or the surroundings very close to them. They may not even understand it as the universe. They may just understand it as their individual family. And, and that is also perfect. We need to be very gentle with ourselves, and don't expect because Jeanne will sit for 2 hours and meditate and you sit for maybe 1 minute that you're doing anything wrong. You're not. What you're doing is right for yourself. And you need to accept yourself for who you are and where you are on your journey. We have different journeys. Some people may be growing and just learning what a 40-hour work week means to them. Others may be looking at their journey and saying, oh, an 80-hour work week is perfect for me. All of this is fine. We are at different points and different ways. I myself know that when I take some deep breaths, I begin to become a part, be able to calm my mind. Some other people may need to calm their mind by laughing or even going out and going, because by using something that is nonsensical, you begin to calm your mind because you can't think when you're howling at the moon. You can only howl. Someone made me do that about 2 weeks ago when I was going a little crazy myself and said, Carla, just howl 4 times. And I and I did it 4 times. My mind automatically settled down. It's just reminding ourselves to use techniques to settle our mind. A deep breath may not make any sense to someone, but maybe a minute of and laughing will settle the mind down. So don't think you need to do what Kurt does, or you need to do what Jeanne does, or what I do, because it doesn't matter a difference. What matters is that you're taking that time to settle down. You're taking that time when you're a young student and beginning to work to understand what a 40-hour work week is. What it means to me may not mean the same to a 20-year-old man. But at the same time, it has great meaning. You're learning. And if someone doesn't point this out to you, you may never get that point at all. And Alexa stopped. And Alexa decided to talk.
She always has an opinion.
Let me add something to that, because it's totally, life is so diverse. God made everything different. I'm an identical twin, yet my brother's way different than I am. There's flowers that look similar, but they act a little bit, and so on. That's why this book, Winning Ways for Living, has all kinds of different meditation practices, has practices for the mind, body, and spirit and the emotions. How is it that we can get to be better? Well, I can adjust my nutrition because that has a great effect on the mind, has a great effect on the physical fitness, has another effect on the emotions, and so on. But most people don't know so much about nutrition. So when you learn a little bit about it, then you can have other resources to go and use that. Anything and everything can affect our state of being. Should anybody want to be calm and more peaceful, go straight outside, put yourself down at the base of a tree and lean back against that tree with your feet bare, and let Mother Earth give her her vibrations. It will balance all of your cells in your body to the Earth's vibration. That's why people go out into nature. They feel so much better. I can't say a beach bum anymore because I haven't been to the beach in another week or two. So, but at the beach, everybody lays at the beach, so their whole body is absorbing this. They're calmer, they're chilled, they're having a good time. When you get out into nature, it's totally blending your nature with what you are. Mm-hmm. There's so many ways to be calmer, but the biggest key that we're talking about today is to be that inner guru, to open to the authentic presence of that incredible love by stilling the mind, because the heart, where that incredible love vibrates so strongly, that has more stronger neurons than the brain has. And when we open that heart up through chilling the mind, for calming that mind, then we get the communication the way it should be, from here up and out. The mind can take what the heart offers it and put it into action. What kind of action? There's a man named Pierre Pradervan. He has a great book called The Gentle Art of Blessing. He would go around the streets of Geneva, where he lived, and he would be inspired to say blessings of peace and love to a person. He wouldn't say it out loud. He would just do it in his mind. But he'd see somebody on the street walking toward him and say, oh, blessings of health and wealth, or whatever came to him. He slowly but surely did it more and more and more. It got to be a better habit. And one day, a man jumped up and popped him because he had blessed this guy. Was it because he had blessed him? Who knows? But the guy jumped up and knocks him out. When Pierre woke up, he didn't know how long it had been that he had been out. But he gets up and he thinks, oh, he needs more blessing. So he blessed him even though he wasn't there. And he goes home thinking he's going to see a big shiner, a big black eye. No black eye. You can see his YouTube talks on just look up Pierre Pradervan, or you can look up a book that a friend of mine actually published before he sold it to Simon & Schuster. It's called The Gentle Art of Blessing. And as we bless things more, guess what happens to our heart? What you give is what you get. And it's not like you're giving it for that reason. We don't give it for that reason. We give it because we're giving it to ourselves. When I sign out in regard to my emails, I put after my name a little comma, and then I write another, and then I have a U right after another, because I am simply another you. I am a reflection of you. When you get upset at something I do, it's because something in you wasn't quite clear about what's happening in it. because we are all one and we affect everything. When we get tuned in to Mother Nature, I can go outside and suddenly there's a hummingbird. Why? Because that hummingbird is a totem of mine, according to what the Native Americans call it. It doesn't happen every day, but when I think of the hummingbird so often, it can come up as arm's length away from me and say hi. Sometimes it'll talk to me, but that's only because I know they can talk to me. I know that that tree, that incredible zapote tree outside my house, has wisdom. All we get to do is tune into it. This is the magic of being present. And the present is only present when the mind calms down. The mind is either behind us or in front of us. It's thinking, what happened? I shouldn't have done this. I did that again. Or, uh-oh, there's all hell breaking loose out in the world. I got to worry about COVID. I got to worry about these people and all that. But when we worry, we can't do good things. You can't trust Allah. Worry proves that you really are not trusting God. Yes, Carla.
Let me add something about worry.
Please.
Worry is being concerned about the future. Regret is being concerned about what happened in the past. Neither one is happening right this moment. And only if we stay in the moment can we find that peace. Now we can choose to worry. We all tend to do it. What's going to happen if I say this to Kurt and he doesn't want to hear it? Well, he may get a little angry, but who in the world cares if you're speaking your truth? Regret, I may say something to Kimi and Kimi gets mad at me, and what's going to happen? Will she ever talk to me again? I don't know. Maybe she won't, but who cares? I had to say that to her. And Jeanne, oh, I got to put you in the moment. Jeanne's in the moment now. So right now I like her. What happens if in 5 minutes from now, or even a minute from now, she disagrees with me? And I may say, you idiot. She won't be happy with me. Who cares? Because I had to say what I had to say. Yesterday, I had to deal with a very difficult situation in a group because I was leading the group. But in leading the group, I had to do some things that I really did not want to do. And I thought about it. I thought, I don't want to do that. And for other people, it was, I had to do it. And I did do it. I ended up doing it. But the point is, I did what I felt was right in the moment. And that's true for everyone. Can't go back after I tell Jeanne she's an idiot and tell her I can say I'm sorry, but those words were already uttered. And I can't worry about what she's going to say in the future because I've already uttered it. I can really be at the moment. So actually, we are at the end of the show. Does anyone have less than a minute if you want to say something, but say what you need to say? Jeanne, do you want to say something before I end the show?
I'd like the folks that are watching the show to just simply remember. That's it. Simply remember who we are. Take a minute, take a breath, allow your mind to chatter on, and just be quiet for a moment, because I think that when we take those moments and they become little chains of moments, that changes the world, that that power we have to choose will become more evident, and that we will get to hear from our inner guru on a more regular basis.
And with that, I want to thank Jeanne and Kimi and Kurt for being here today. I really appreciate it. I think we're going to be here on Thursday. I am getting ready for a big conference that is happening online on Sunday and Monday. And I have had people say, Carla, get some rest. Don't do all the work you're doing. And at this moment, I'm sort of thinking about doing that, but I think everything's covered for Thursday already. So I want to thank you guys, and we will take it one step at a time. Can we wave goodbye? Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you again either Thursday or very soon afterwards. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.